Welcome to the Gus Alba Perspective, a video cast that embraces gratitude and abundance over the mindset of fear and scarcity. The theme that I'd like to touch on today is why do we play the blame game? And that's an important point of consideration because from a psychiatric point of view, I oftentimes see individuals struggle with different conflicts, and it's oftentimes a matter of blaming things on others. And think of this, the blame game is a common behavioral pattern where individuals avoid taking responsibility for their actions by shifting, again, that onto others. This tendency is oftentimes noted in personal relationships or the professional setting and broader social settings. Understanding why people play the blame game is what this video cast is going to explore, and learning how to counter this mindset is what we will hopefully do through fostering accountability, trust, and collaboration. Very first thing is taking a look at why it is that people would play the blame game. Oh, that's not my fault, that's somebody else's doing. Well, the very first thing is self-protection. If you think of ego defense, if you're to admit a fault, well, that's going to be a blow to your own self-esteem. And when you shift blame, it helps protect the ego from the discomfort of having acknowledged a mistake. Sometimes we're fearful of the consequence of having done something. So if we own up to a mistake, that can lead to negative consequences. That can lead to punishment. That can lead to criticism. It can lead to a loss of status. So it's a lot easier to blame someone else as a way to avoid these repercussions. A lack of accountability is very important because when we avoid responsibility, individuals might not necessarily have developed a strong sense of personal accountability, and blaming others allows them to sidestep that responsibility. Now, bear in mind that if somebody is blaming others, it could be a learned behavior. It might have been reinforced by seeing others do the same thing without having faced significant consequences. It doesn't, however, mean that that's actually the right thing to do. Sometimes we see that in highly competitive settings, whether that be the work setting. Individuals might blame someone else to protect their own position and appear to be competent when in reality they may have actually blundered. Sometimes people are just fearful of confrontation. And to admit fault can lead to conflicts. That can lead to uncomfortable confrontations. Blaming others is a nice way of actually being able to avoid just such a situation. Now, ironically, some people blame others to maintain relationships. And they think that admitting their fault might damage their connection with others, and so as a consequence of that, will shift it over to somebody else. Psychologically, this is obviously an area that I'm deeply interested in. Some people utilize projection, so they will attach something that they actually feel and put it on somebody else. So they'll attribute one's own undesirable trait or mistake onto someone else. Insecurity is another very important thing. Individuals who feel insecure about their abilities or status tend to blame others to divert attention from their perceived shortcomings. So we can see that this blame game goes around a whole heck of a lot. So the big question is, how do we counter this blame game mindset? Well, the very first thing that we might be able to do is to help cultivate self-awareness, to be reflective, right? To encourage one's own reactions to different situations. Now, one way of being able to figure out how you operate is to journal or to just be mindful when you are doing something. This helps increase self-awareness. Through appropriate feedback, we might be able to get constructive feedback from trusted peers or mentors. And honest feedback can help us with gaining additional insight into our behavior as well as areas of potential improvement. Personal responsibility is super important, and that's something that should be valued and rewarded. And we need to highlight the importance of owning up to mistakes as a sign of strength and integrity rather than simply as a way of attacking individuals. I can certainly think that with somebody that you're close to, if you're accountable for your actions and your decisions, that actually fosters additional strength within a partnership. And then the support that comes about from that might reinforce additional responsible behavior. When we embrace mistakes, we obviously, as has been again an area of discussion previously, an opportunity of learning and growth. Failures or mistakes are a phenomenal conduit of being able to figure out, how do I not do this again? How do I fix this? How do I make it so that I'm better than I've been up to this particular point? And adopting a growth mindset reduces the fear of admitting faults. Think about this. We learn things every single day, and when we have resources and support, that'll actually add to our overall sense of satisfaction in life. Another very important thing is improving communication. If we have an open dialogue and we have honest communication and we can express our concerns and admit mistakes without fear of harsh judgment, man, that's liberating. It's also important to teach and practice effective conflict resolution skills. I have these regular discussions with my young daughters, and I talk about being able to navigate conflicts in a constructive manner to reduce the need to blame others, to be accountable, but also to be supportive and to then subsequently, show and help with reinforcing positive things that others might then subsequently follow suit. So modeling behavior is really important, right? We certainly note that, as parents, we have a responsibility with our children, with our colleagues. If we are, again, in the lead of a given endeavor, we need to model behavior that we wish to see. And, even leaders might make a mistake, but when they take responsibility, it sets a powerful example for others. And by being a positive influence onto peers, that helps with accountability and helps with enhancing the overall dynamics of the people that we're with. As you see then, the blame game is a counterproductive behavior because it undermines trust, accountability, and collaboration. But a mindset of gratitude and abundance will allow us the ability to see how people play the blame game for various reasons. That can include self-protection. They might not want to be accountable. There might be some sort of a social or cultural interference. There might be conflict avoidance at play or psychological factors. But having the charitability to be able to recognize those things can help greatly in countering that blame set mindset. Requires an approach that includes cultivating self-awareness and promoting accountability and developing a growth mindset and enhancing communication and being supportive, as well as modeling appropriate responsible behavior. And when we address these particular areas, we now have the opportunity for mutual respect and a greater sense of ownership of the things that we do rather than trying to shift blame onto others. So I thank you for joining us on the Gus Alva Perspective regarding this thematic of why people play the blame game. Have a great rest of the day. Okay, let's do one last one, and then I'm getting tired. Hey, Saul, are you there? Saul.